Hi, welcome to this video session. I will talk about AES in CBC mode encryption by taking an example problem and walk you through the structure of CBC and the initialization vector properties. Okay, that's the plan for this session. So let's get straight into the problem now. The question is asking us what can we infer about the plain text of the following two ciphertexts. So they gave us two ciphertexts. They gave us ciphertext 1 and ciphertext 2. Here is ciphertext 1 and here is ciphertext 2. And these ciphertexts are produced using AES in CBC mode. CBC stands for Cipher Block Chaining. I will briefly walk you through that structure in a moment. Okay, if you pay close attention, we see that the initialization vector is the same for both ciphertexts. Further, the actual ciphertext content are also the same for both the messages. Okay, this must be a straightforward problem for you. However, it is better to just reason about the structure of CBC first and then reason about what can we say about the underlying plain text messages. Okay, let's get into the structure of the CBC mode. This is the nice picture from Wikipedia. What we can see here is that there is something called initialization vector. It's just basically a bunch of bits. We don't have to go into the details of how it is generated at this point, but let's assume some number is here. It's public, not necessarily secret. It's XORed with the plain text of the first block, and then whatever encryption algorithm like AES or PDES or whatever approved is applied using the AES key, and then you get the ciphertext as an output. And that ciphertext is used as the input to the next block plain text by XORing it, and then we apply again the same encryption algorithm using the same key that was used here, of course. Oops. Okay, yeah, same key, and then you get the next ciphertext and so on. The reason for doing this is that usually the block cipher encryption algorithm will produce a random number as an output. It's like a pseudo-random function, and if we mix that with the plain text, we will get some garbage. There's no structure anymore, and that is again fed into the block cipher to produce another random number, and so on. So if we have two plain text blocks that are different in just in only one bit, for example, it's going to have a completely different ciphertext. That's because of the way the block cipher encryption algorithm usually works, is that any small change in the input will have significant change in the output. Okay, so that's one of the main reasons for this particular structure. It's developed back in 1976. That's impressive. We have been using this for quite a long time now to encrypt multiple blocks of plain text messages. The block size length itself is specific to a particular cipher algorithm. If you are using AES, the AES block cipher length is 128-bit or 16 bytes. So in that case, your plain text message is chopped into many segments, right, or many blocks. Each block will be just 128-bit long. If the block lengths are not multiples of the expected block lengths, then what will happen is some extra padding will be added. I will talk about padding later. That's not important for this problem. Okay. All right. So this is the structure of the Cipher Block Chaining. What we saw in our problem statement is that for both ciphertexts, we have been using the same IV. So the IV was fixed, at least for the two ciphertexts that we saw. What it means is that this particular point is the same. We also saw the same output here. We got the same output here for both the ciphertexts that we saw, which can tell us something about what could have gone here, right? Usually the block cipher encryption algorithms are like bijective functions or permutations, what cryptography books call. Bijective functions are one function and the onto function. So usually AES behaves like a PRF. What we call PRF means pseudo-random permutation. So if you see the same output for two different messages, the ciphertexts are the same. That means the input to the block cipher should have been same. Okay. What that means is that since the IVs are also the same, what we can conclude is that the plain text must also have been the same, right? If they were different, even if they're different by just a flip of a bit, what will happen is that the ciphertext will be completely different. I will show you in a moment those things. But what we can conclude for the problem that we are trying to solve is that since the IV is the same and the ciphertext are also the same, we can conclude that it's very likely that both messages are the same. So the ideal answer is this. Very likely the input plain text are the same. Okay, that's all. The reason I say very likely is that we believe AES behaves like permutation, right? If you get an output and two of the outputs are the same, very likely the inputs are also the same. That's basically the concept of permutation. Okay. The reason is AES behaves like a pseudo-random permutation, or 1 and on 2, okay, function. So that's basically the reason for this problem. What we can conclude is that if we use AES in CBC mode, we don't want to have same IV for two different messages. The reason being that if the messages are the same, then you will have the same ciphertext. Okay, you see here the same ciphertext, exactly the same. Okay, so now I will show you the program that was generating this piece of ciphertext, and then we can play with it a little bit to understand more details. Okay, so let's get into the program now. Okay, so I wrote this little program, call it cbc.java. Okay, so clearly the two plain texts are the same, right? It's made of all A's, and we are using AES key size 256, not to be confused with the block length, which is 128-bit or 16 bytes. Okay, we initialize the key generator using AES algorithm, and then we generate a key. Here is the key generation part. But the problem is here, the IV part. The IV part, as you can see, is generated only once here. So we generate a random number, and if we use the IV to encrypt, the same IV is used to encrypt multiple plain text messages. As we can see, we are walking through all the plain text to produce each ciphertext. Okay, so that is one of the reasons why we got the same ciphertext for the same plain text. Okay, and here are some syntax details. Here is the encryption function, which basically uses Java Cipher class, instantiates AES in CBC, and there are some padding modes that are important, but I'm not going to talk about it in this session. We'll get back to that later. We create an AES object, a secret key object, IV is initialized, and so on. These are all standard template code anyways. So, okay. And then the same for decryption as well. Initialize the AES in CBC mode, and then we call it in the decryption mode as opposed to encryption mode here. Okay. So this is basically it. Now we can compile and run it. Java C, cbc.java. Okay, you see here the same IV here and here, same ciphertext for both messages. That's because of the mistake we made in the code. Okay, we can do a simple fix now. We just move the random number generation here, random.next bytes IV. That should solve the problem. All right, let's see. Yeah, here it is. IVs are now different, and furthermore, the ciphertexts are also different. Okay, that's all. That shows that we can simply hide the fact that our plain texts are the same by carefully placing the IV at the right place in our code. So to make sure IVs are unique. Okay, that's pretty much it for this session of the video. I will talk about other ways to generate IVs in the next segment.